Hello, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another Unreal Engine tutorial. We are currently in Unreal Engine 5.4.4, and today we are going over a request from Daniel Wills, who says, "Thanks, Ben, very helpful. Can you show me how to make a zero gravity field and gravity field toggle?" Now, I'm going to assume that it's kind of more like the breath edge style where you're inside and it's gravity, and something like you go outside and you're in space and it's all floaty. But this is actually relatively simple to do. It's actually easier than the whole gravity direction thing. I've just got a first person template. I've not really modified anything here. This is literally just the core standard first person template. So this is what we're going to work with. I'm going to do this in blueprints because the C++ is almost identical. It's kind of pointless. So what I would do is first I would create an actor, and this is probably going to be my field toggle. So I'm just going to call this field toggle. You can name what you like. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag this in here. Now, depending on how you want to do your game, you may want the entire world as zero gravity and then just certain zones as gravity enabled, or the other way around, where you just want the certain zones to be zero gravity and the rest of the world has gravity enabled. It doesn't really matter which way around you do this. So what we're going to do is I'm going to assume that the entire world is space, and we just have gravity zones, a little bit like breath edge. So for this, just for simplicity, I'm going to add a box collision, and this is just going to be called my zone. What I will do is scroll down all the way down here, and we want the begin overlap and the end overlap. This is all I'm going to do in here for a moment, because what I also want to do is I want to create an interface. So let's create a blueprint interface, and I'm just going to call this IF gravity. That's fine. If I can spell gravity. There we go. We've spelled gravity correctly. Yay! No. Okay, so in here I want to have a function which I'm going to call toggle gravity. And on here I am going to have an input, a boolean, on. Or just has gravity as well. Let's just do it properly. Has gravity. Right. The reason I'm doing this is because you might find other things that you want to have, like say these cubes. If you want to turn this into an actual switch to say, right, toggle gravity in the entire zone, you might want to add an interface to some of these other objects to also turn off their gravity so they all float off. So I want it to be, as generic as possible. There is so much stuff in here. They could have organized this better. There we go. So now that we have that, what I will do is I'm going to add this to our first person character. So come to our first person character, class settings, over here implemented interfaces, and we want our IF gravity. This will add our interface function over here for toggle gravity. And what I'm going to do is put a branch on here to say, have we got gravity? Have we not got gravity? Now, before I fill that in, I'm going to come over to my field toggle now. And what I'm going to do is does implement interface, and I want the IF gravity. Put the B on here. And then we're going to call our function, which I think we call toggle gravity. There we are. Now, this is sort of where you would probably choose do I want gravity or don't I want gravity? So depending on which way round you've decided to do your world or your zone. So in here, I said that the world itself was going to be non-gravity. So when we end overlap, we want to turn that off. When we enter, we want to turn that on. And that is because I haven't plugged that into here. I don't know, and this is a question for maybe the community, because I haven't actually gone and checked the source code myself, but I don't know if calling this interface function automatically does this interface check. I'm just adding it in here because I haven't actually gone around and checked that. So you might be able to just do that. I'm not entirely too sure. As for anything else in the zone, all you're going to need to do, there is a get all actors of with interface, and you can just do if gravity, and that if you added like ones to these cubes, that's just going to find absolutely every actor that has that interface, and you just loop over them and then call the toggle gravity on it, and then it's fine. So that's relatively straightforward. As for the gravity for the character, what we need to do is we have this character movement, and we need to set movement mode. Now, for non-gravity zones, it is actually technically called flying. So whether we have gravity, we want to set to walking. If we don't have gravity, we want to set to flying. You could probably do swimming as well. That's entirely possible. I've always done it for flying. The other thing that we need to do is on the BP character, what you'll notice under the physics is this enable gravity tick box. Now, this is actually added to a few things. So the first person mesh has it enabled, the mesh has it enabled, the capsule has it enabled. So my suggestion, really, if you're going to toggle that, just to make it easier on yourself, you only need the capsule to have it. So turn it off for the first-person mesh, turn it off for the standard mesh, and just leave it for the capsule, which I'm assuming is just whatever I searched there. So here we want to set gravity. What is it? Set enable gravity. There we go. That's the one I was looking for. So we've got that. I'm going to paste that up here and plug these. If we have gravity, we want it enabled. Let me zoom in a little bit here for you. So if we have gravity, true, then we want to set to walking. We want gravity enabled. If it's false, set to flying. We don't want it enabled. Nice and simple. Now, as for our field, let's close that one off. We can have our zone, and let's scale up our box. Now, I'm going to start the character in the zone, and I'm actually going to make this a little bit bigger. In fact, I'm going to make it a lot bigger, a lot taller. There we go. So I'm going to start the character in the zone because by default your movement mode is set to walking. So it makes sense that if I'm in the field, I'm walking. Let's see if this works. So for actually just one thing we can do just to make this a little bit easier is turn off the hidden in game. So when we view it, we can actually see the bounds of where we can walk here. You see a nice cube that we're going. So here we are walking, we can jump, which is fine. If I jump out, we're floating, no gravity, floating, continually floating, and such. And then back in, and we got gravity again. So that's pretty much how you would do the breath edge style gravity toggle. So obviously you'd be inside your thing, you go through the airlock, and yay, we're floating around in space. And, you know, obviously the balls and guns and things are not set correctly, but that is how we would do the gravity set. And you can use the previous two tutorials to do a change in gravity. So you could have this one as a walking zone here. You could float over to this one, someone over here that is like a complete change in direction for gravity. It's really quite straightforward. As for if we just wanted to do it on a switch, that's slightly more involved because you have to have some kind of interact system. So did I create a video on interact? I think I created a video on line tracing. I'll see if I can leave that as a card in the top corner. But a line trace to interact with objects, or you can just have an object with an overlap box like this, and then just listen out for the E key or whatever you've got as your interact key, and then you just call that function. You just call that on anything that implements that. Fairly straightforward. The things I could think of, and new actor, floaty cube. So, by default, we're going to add a static mesh. There we are. Browse to that, and then we're going to use that in here. We are going to implement our class here. Underscore gravity. There we are. And in here, just going to implement that. And this one's going to be fairly straightforward. I'm actually just going to put that as the scene node and grab that in, set enable gravity. In fact, we don't even need that. We can just plug this directly in here. And let's put you into the world. So I'm going to put you here. Put another one here. We'll see if we can do something with these. And with our field toggle, I'm just going to create a not a comment, custom event, toggle all gravity. So what we want, get all actors with interface, as we discussed earlier, if gravity for each loop here, and we're just going to call gravity, and I'm going to plug that in to there, and toggle all gravity to true. Now, just for those who have probably picked up on it, obviously the player pawn is an actor. That is going to be picked up by this. So technically speaking, we should be able to get rid of that. And in fact, we probably can get rid of all of that and just plug that in like so, because then that should handle all the stuff. We'll just double check that that's still the case. Yeah, that's still the case. But if I run into... Oh, what's going on there? Did that not? Oh, does it have... What does it have? Let's have a look. Floaty cube. Simulate physics. Let's try that. Oh, there you go. And if I come into the zone, there we go. That's what we want. So simulate physics needs to be on here. So I can have that and then obviously have it floaty. That's now floaty. Look at it go and boom. Back to the ground. Did I not go into the zone? There we are. So yeah, that is pretty much how you make a gravity zone for Breath Edge. You could obviously invert this and say everything outside is walking, but everything inside this area is, you know, floaty. But that's pretty much it. I really hope that that has answered your question, Daniel. If you have any other further questions, let me know. But this is pretty much the basics, and the C++ version of this is pretty much the same. You can just get the character movement. There's a set movement mode function. I don't know why I clicked on that. That is just a stupid thing to do. But yeah, set movement mode function here, and you just pass it the new movement mode, and then you just change the gravity on your capsule, which will be accessible on the C++ version of your Blueprint character. But that is it. I hope this has helped somebody, and I hope this has helped Daniel. Thank you very much for joining, and I will see you next time, guys. Bye for now. Bye-bye.